What is going on, dudes? And also lady dudes. Welcome back to Just Nuts. Guys, today I want to go back and I want to talk about the new Link monster we got revealed yesterday. PREDAPLANT Verte Anaconda, I believe is the full name for him here. We got the first three monsters revealed for Link Frames Pack 3 yesterday. There was a big five-headed dragon one. It's cool, but I don't think it's gonna do much. There's a new Endymion one. Somebody said it might be possible to abuse FTK certain things, but I just hope that's either consistent or not true, or inconsistent. Sorry, I hope that's either inconsistent or not true. And then we got this card, a new Predaplant Link monster that's pretty generic fusion support and has a pretty insane effect. If you didn't watch the video yesterday, let's go over the effect real quick. So he's a 500 Link 2 monster. He takes any 2 effect monsters, so he's almost completely generic. He's a dark plant. As usual, has the 2 downward arrows, which is pretty nice. I know this is in Japanese, but I know the effects. The first effect is an effect that lets you target an opponent's monster and make that monster dark attribute. Okay, that seems kind of weird. Why would you want to do that? Well, the second effect is the moneymaker here. So pretty much you get to pay 2,000 life points to send any fusion or polymerization, normal spell or quick play spell from your deck to the graveyard, and then pretty much make this guy's effect that effect, whatever that fusion effect would be. So one thing that's interesting to note here is, after reading up a little bit, I believe whenever you use an effect like this that copies another card's effect, but you're not actually activating the other card, you bypass costs for the original card, and you also bypass certain restrictions depending on how they're worded for those cards. So there's some pretty interesting things there. But pretty much just makes this an insanely good card and insanely abusable in almost any fusion deck, because there is a restriction this card has on itself, or by itself, saying that after you use that effect, you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn. So this is going to be the last summon you do, is that fusion summon. But that can be okay, because if you set up everything you want to do until before then, this could just be the last thing you do to finish off your board. So yeah, I want to talk about some of the applications, because off the top of my head, there were so many fusion cards I did not even know they existed in the game, or just didn't remember. And I think there are a lot that have applications here. Main things I'm looking for here are fusions that fuse from graveyard or deck. Those are the two big ones, because if you're playing a deck that can use the link materials to make this guy, they're in grave, and then this card can use the fusion to banish the cards from grave that you already put in grave. So it's like your active resources there. It's already there. You're not fusing from field or hand, which I feel like is a more unreliable way to keep ready for a fusion summon after you've made this card. You would have already put in resources into making this card and the rest of your board. That this wouldn't really work out that way. Right. So going through a few of them, we have Predaplant Fusion. These are the ones that I don't think are of too much consequence here, but there's the Predaprime Fusion. This one can possibly use an opponent's monster. You make an opponent's monster dark, you use 2 of yours and your opponent's monster to make Trifio Veritum, the new one that takes 3 dark monsters. Odd Eyes Fusion. This is just one I believe that uses material from extra deck. So you can use monster materials from extra deck. Fright for Fusion lets you banish from grave. Red Eyes Fusion lets you send from deck, making that new Red Eyes Dark Magician fusion monster. It's very good, but I don't know how much they'd be able to set up in one turn, but still, it's a very powerful card. Neos Fusion sending from deck. Fusion Destiny sending from deck, but this one's iffy because it does destroy the monster. I'm not sure that Anaconda will bypass this restriction that it destroys your monster, right? Yeah, but destroy it during the end phase of the next turn. So I'm not sure that wouldn't keep that or not. I'm not sure on the way it's worded. Magicalized Fusion, just banishing from grave to make any spellcaster fusion monster, pretty good. Overload Fusion. This could have some niche plays with some of the huge boss monsters that Cyber Dragon has access to. Just a quick, easy, searchable way, essentially, to get out a huge offensive push if you're able to banish 2 or 3 Cyber Dragons from grave to make the guy that just gains 800 times the number of fusion materials, and then he can attack once for every material you used for him. So make him 3200, he can attack 4 times. pretty wild, right? Something like that. Miracle Fusion is super interesting. They just got a new fusion monster that searches Miracle Fusion now, so that's like something interesting. That, and it's also not once per turn, so you could like search it once with that guy, and then end on Anaconda, search a second copy, and do it again, and just end on an even bigger and better board. I'm not sure how much application it has as far as like a full combo goes, but you know, it's something to keep in mind. Brilliant Fusion's interesting because it can just summon out Seraphinite, giving you an extra normal summon, but as we said, Anaconda keeps you from special summoning anymore in the turn. So you think you can get an extra normal summon, you just can't special summon again. So I don't know how much that normal summon will actually be worth if you can't even like link off the Seraphinite, use it as anything really else. So I don't know. Maybe not worth altogether, but something I thought I wanted to note. Thunder Dragon Fusion is another interesting one. Because Thunder Dragons are so easy to make Colossus without even using a fusion card, I'm not even sure if this is really worth. Because like if you're linking off 2 materials to make Anaconda, those were probably just, one of those at least was probably just a Thunder monster. You would have been able to just tribute to make Colossus anyway, yeah. Maybe this helps you get to Titan a little easier, but other than that, I don't really see it having too much things. But it does also get Thunder Dragon Fusion in the graveyard to get you a search, so that's not bad either. But I don't know, I thought it was interesting. It's already like a tier 1 deck, so that could have some application as a one of in the extra deck. Now this is where we start getting interesting. So these are the more spicy and important cards I wanted to look at, because I think they could be incredibly relevant like as soon as the card comes out. So we don't know when we're going to get this card. It could be a year, more than that, less than that, we don't know. If Salamangreats is still a competitive deck at the time, Fusion of Fire becomes an insanely powerful card. And even if you're just playing Salamangreats, you could use this card, because it's just going to rip an opponent's card off the field. Because this lets you use materials from either side of the field to make your fusion monster. And if you don't know, Violet Chimera takes 1 Salamangreat monster and 1 any link. So if you're playing Salamangreats, you could just play this as a one of. Just you can make Anaconda, send this, like fuse off any other like extra Salamangreat card monster you have on the field with your opponent's link monster to make Violet Chimera and make an offensive push. But even better, if Salamangreat is a competitive deck, you play this in your side deck, side it in, you can generically make Anaconda, send this card, and rip both a Salamangreat card and a link monster off their field, while also in the process getting a big beat stick like Violet Chimera to your side of the field. So I think this card is super, super spicy. Don't sleep on this card. Should Salamangreat still be a competitively viable deck when Anaconda comes out, this card would be a super interesting tech choice. Next is Shaddoll Fusion. Now, this is the biggest question mark, mainly because we already have confirmed a brand new Shaddoll structure deck coming in the OCG in December. We'll probably get it 2 or 3 months later here. But the main thing is we have no idea what those new cards are going to be. We'll probably get anywhere between 5 and 10 new cards that can completely change the landscape of Shaddolls. But this is a very interesting card, because this card going second lets you send materials straight from your deck to the graveyard. That could be something like Dragon to get an extra pop on a spell or trap card. It could be like Beast to get an extra draw in the process of summoning an insanely powerful fusion monster like, I don't know, Winda. Like, how many decks just lose to Winda in the first place? A lot. Like, a lot of decks just like straight lose to Winda. So like, that's already so powerful. Obviously this is better going second than first, but if you're able to break through your opponent's board and then use this and summon Winda, that's going to be the game. Like, not only have you dwindled their board, but they're not going to be able to make a push next turn, because Winda's going to lock them out of special summoning more than once per turn. And then obviously, like I said, there's just so many question marks. There could be even better applications going first for this card or other cards, or like regular El Shaddoll Fusion, like stuff like that. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, but this could definitely be a really strong card, just because it sends from deck and you just get extra value off those Shaddoll monsters. Like I said, redrawing, popping spell and trap cards, and then some of the other ones, like some of them special from grave, I think, some of them special from hand, I want to say. They all have a lot of utility, so we'll see where we end up there, but that's something I wanted to note, because I believe Shaddolls very well could be a competitive deck after the structure deck. And then the last and most important card, do not get me wrong, this is easily the most important card to keep in note with Anaconda, Super Polymerization. This card's insane. We just got it back to 3 not too long ago. People are still like surprised it came off the ban list because it's so strong. If you don't know what this card lets you fuse, fusion summon anything generically from field using either player's field, and it's a quick effect. So you can rip stuff off your opponent's field. You can use entirely monsters off your opponent's field to make a fusion, and that's the whole idea here with Anaconda. Just with like super poly and stuff, you play super poly targets, you can just make Anaconda send 2 monsters from your opponent's field and make any of the like regular super poly targets. Every tier 1 deck at the moment, barring Striker, if you still think Striker's a tier 1 deck, is super polyable, so this is like so strong. And I know what you're thinking. A lot of people will say, yeah, John, but like because it's not super poly, because you're not activating the actual card, Anaconda can be responded to. Normally, Super Poly says neither player can activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation. We're not activating that card. You're activating Anaconda, taking the effect of this card. So you do not get that luxury. So it can be responded to. But one thing I like to note is that even if that's the case, this is still just an insanely powerful card to be abused. Anaconda, I mean. Like, even if this isn't a quick effect, even if it can be responded to, this just becomes a generic effect monster that you summon out, right? And you pay its effect essentially. So take this into account. Its effect essentially becomes pay 2,000 life points to non-targeting, non-destruction, remove 2 monsters from your opponent's field while also putting a beat stick to your field. Then you can add special summon for the rest of the turn. Like, if we got a Link 2 that was that good, you would say, like, if that was its straight up effect, like it literally had Super Poly as the effect, it could be responded to, it wasn't a quick effect, you'd say, wow, that's insane. Just going second, that generic? That's what its effect essentially becomes. And I think people forget that. And it can just be like your ending play. Like maybe you're playing going second into a board and they pretty much stop you from doing your actual play, but somehow you're able to keep 2 monsters on the field. Well, you got Super Poly in your main deck. Maybe it's just 1 copy to make this card live, but you finish up by linking those 2 into Anaconda, paying 2,000 life points, ripping the last 2 monsters on your opponent's side of the field, or at least 2 monsters off your opponent's side of the field. You can also turn something dark to make Starving Venom more live than it already is against so many decks, while also putting Starving Venom on your field, a 2800 beater that also can like float into a board wipe, right? Like so strong to me. Like even if it's not a quick effect, even if it's not unrespondable to, you don't have to pay costs. You don't even have to discard for it. So you don't have to pay extra, cards from hand to activate it. And I just think that's still insane, no matter what. So pretty much I just want to make this video to go through all like these applications. And I just think it's so cool. I think this card can be abused in so many different fusion decks. Obviously, the more like important ones, Thunder Dragon Fusion of Fire, Shaddoll Fusion, and Super Poly. I think those are the 4 you want to keep in the forefront of your mind with this card whenever it comes out, if they're still relevant at then. I mean, maybe Konami decides Super Poly is just too good, it needs to go. Too many people are citing it, too many people are using it, it just needs to go, it's too powerful. I don't know, but I just want to make a video talking about this because I just did a super quick analysis or like read through and a reaction yesterday, and I want to go a little more in depth because I thought there was so much depth to what this card can do and what it can be, not just for PREDAPLANTs, but for any deck, not even if they're fusion based. It could just be any deck that just plays Super Poly, because all you need is 1 card in your main deck, 1 Super Poly, and 1 card in your extra deck, and this becomes a possible play that can turn the tides in a duel you have no business winning, right? So, I don't know, just something to keep in mind, guys. Thank you so much for listening, of course. If I missed anything and you think there are some other applications that are really important, definitely let me know about down below. I definitely am curious to learn anything that I might have missed. And thank you so much for watching, guys. As always, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet, and I will catch you in the next video. Peace.